Hello, guys. Welcome to the first podcast. This is your host, Peter, and by my right hand side, I have the beautiful lady, Yakang, as usual. On our previous episodes, we spoke about parental guidance and educational system, the way it affects us as kids or as youth in Africa. Today, we want to elaborate on that by taking you further to culture and traditions, how it really affects us as kids and even as teenagers. Before we kick into this, I want to bring you back again to Yakang to take us on this route of culture and tradition. So, Yakang, what do you think about culture and tradition? How does it really affect us as Africans or you per se?
First and foremost, we are Africans, and the culture and the traditions and everything that comes with it is what make us identify as Africans. So the cultures and the traditions are our identity. They show where we come from. So moving on, they definitely affect us either positively or negatively. In the negative aspect, I'd like to say the egocentric part of it, in that in the African household, like we spoke last week, the parents, they don't give the children that room to express themselves.
Yeah.
Why? Because it will feel as though they are talking down on their parents. The parents want to show that like they have the upper hand on the children. So in Africa, in the African traditions, yes, the children are not given that much room to express themselves. That's like a negative aspect.
Yeah, and to elaborate on that, it's quite true. I really agree with you because you go to a home where you have to lie down before you greet your dad. Like you have to portray, you have to do something that shows an amount of respect. And our parents really forget that even lying down is not necessarily needed,
No,
right?
no.
We don't really need to lie down to really greet our parents to show respect. But because it's something of, well, I say generations, something that has been in the tradition, that has been a culture, that has been a thing of like growth to them, and we've adjusted to that kind of lifestyle that everybody has to symbolize, portray, do something to really show that, yeah, you're really respectful or grateful to your African parent. So on that, sometimes you go to places and you find out that there are some certain things you can't do, not because they are bad, but because they are not part of
Yeah.
these people's culture, and
No.
you want to like really find out you get it. So take for an instance where you travel to Africa, some part of Africa's, there's some kind of animals that you don't kill, there's some kind of certain things that you don't do.
No.
It's not because it is ungodly or it is dangerous or it is bad, but because it is part of their culture. So in on that,
Yeah.
what would you say the African culture and tradition really has done like to us, the young Africans? What would you say it has really impacted in us? Like, what are the good things that it has really added to our life?
Some of the good things that come with the African culture, I believe, is that African children, compared to the other races, I believe are very more respectful. They are accommodative, and they are accommodative because in Africa we have that oneness in the community. In the community, people live together. We love each other. That which is mine is yours. Like an African will never leave another African,
Sure.
in despair, like suffering.
Yes, that's
Like for
true.
instance, in my house when we were kids, my family is like, we are family oriented in Africa. We care about each other. When it's food, we all eat together. I know some people might find it like disgusting. It's all over social media when
Yeah.
different cultures, like when tourists come to Africa and they take videos, they show the world like this is how this community does this, this is how they eat, this is how the food is prepared. It's not about like the hygiene or anything at this point. It's like it shows togetherness. It
Yes.
shows that if I have, it's the same as you having.
Yes.
Like what I have, we can share. And I think that is something very good and something very amazing that Africans should keep on with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truly, I think that's one of the things that makes African an attractive place, because you go to the internet right now, you go to the tourist attraction, you realize that most people just want to visit Africa.
Yeah.
It's not because of how timid we are or how bushy African is. Africa is a very beautiful place.
is.
We love to engage with nature and a whole lot of cultural heritage, right? So people really want to come over and feel these cultural activities that we possess, the togetherness, like you've said, the wants, because we Africans, we are very accommodative.
We are.
We don't care to know whether we understand your language or not. And the crazy part of it all is that because of the way we are being bred, we have been brought up, we take all Africans as one.
Yeah.
Despite the language distance, despite the cultural differences, but still, we believe that because we are all Africans, we are one.
Yeah.
And I think that is what makes African a very powerful nation, and it makes us a very unique people, right? Because we engage in, like, let's say the cultural thing, heritage makes us relate as one, because we are bound by almost the same kind of culture. We move the same way, we walk the same way, we align with earthly things like herbs and every other things that we are really related to.
That's
and
true.
For that reason alone, we get this earthly communication. You understand? People in Africa, like we are here right now, excluding English, we can really communicate so well, even with signs, because now English is a language that is making everybody understand what everybody is saying. But even excluding that, I see people documenting about the people that they call them the Bushmen, those people that click languages and stuff like that. You still see that people really understand what they say, because they also sign. We have this togetherness. We know how to do everything according to. So if you compile all this African culture and lifestyle together, you realize that we almost do everything the same way. But it is different in the Western world. Am I lying? So I think, at least for you, you have experience of some certain things. So I believe traveling from one country in Africa to the other has really made us really understand who we are as Africans. Because before, I don't even know that other Africans are very accommodative. I was thinking that in Africa, because we don't speak the same language, we are all different. But I've come to realize that being a traveler, being to different parts of Africa, you realize that we are one. And I really see why the storytelling about Africans are sometimes in the negative way, because they've seen the togetherness. The togetherness is there, the compact religiousness, the culture, the tradition, everything is just there. So now, still on that topic, I would want you to like really elaborate your experience as an African when it comes to culture.
To that, I was brought up in a house that embraces the culture. Like everything we do, the dressing and everything, up until like I grew up and had my own preference of how I want to do things. So culture is something we embrace a lot. So when it comes to, okay, some of the things that I really didn't like about that was the male chauvinism in my house, or rather like in my community, because the men have been given that upper hand. It's like when we were, for instance, when we are sitting in the living room, and my sisters out there, if they're seeing this, they'll relate
to what you're saying.
They'll relate to what I'm saying, and I'm sure too they don't like it. So it's like when the guys, they are supposed to be given that respect. They are supposed to mark. They are supposed to. Why? The moment you just born a guy, you just born with that automatic respect that has to be given to you. So they are treated as though they are like, you know, superior and much better to the female. You understand? So it's like when the guys came in, and maybe I was sitting and I was watching a program. Do you know what happened? So if the guys walked in and the ladies were there watching, we'll have to stand up from the couches or whatever we are doing, move. The men are in, and you just
have to give them that.
That's not your department. You're not supposed to be there. You're supposed to be in the kitchen. You're not in the kitchen, just be in the room, but you cannot sit in the same room with the guys. It's like, it's a form of disrespect, which I don't understand.
On that note, Yakang, that brings me to the disadvantage of the traditions, right? Now, you are talking about how you are displeased being like feeling so powerless
Yeah.
in your own father's house
Yeah.
because of tradition.
Yes.
Now, you just want to be respectful, or you want to look respectful, not
Yeah.
because you really want
don't
it.
want to.
Yes, but because you want to look respectful, you just have to obey and play by the rules. Now, that takes us to the things that happens why people want like the Western world are really crying out for the women power, women power,
Yeah.
women power. These are some of the things that they've come to Africa. They've seen that, oh, okay, men really possess a whole lot of power, and they scream it on the internet about the women power. We want equal rights, we want equal rights. And I really feel for the women though, because we are all humans, right? Everybody has their own opinion, like you always say, and everybody has their own take on whatever that is happening.
Yeah.
So I think on that note, some part of the culture should be adjusted,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't say they should just abolish them, because that is what makes us African.
Yeah.
Okay, but we should really look at the negative part of those things, and now we study. Everybody is educated. We
Yeah.
really know a lot about some certain things. We've read a lot. We've studied a lot. We know how human are supposed to be treated, right?
Yeah.
Now, we also realize that everybody has their own opinion.
Yeah.
So I think on that note, we should let everybody have their say and have their choice.
Yeah.
Pick what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
Because we already have that freedom, right? Okay, now, apart from you feeling so less observed from what you said about the culture, what else do you think it's not supposed to be there?
Pleasing the society and your parents, rather make decisions based on what people will think about them rather than what is good for you. So it's more of my parents, they want to please. So it's like when I was a kid, every time you make a mistake, because, you know, in the community or in the society, rather, if they have a reputation for this and that, they want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
If your family is known, you know, for doing this, it's a good, and they should keep it that way.
Yes.
And so they keep on with the traditions and everything that make them, because, you know, in a society, if that one particular family uplifts all the traditions and cultures more than the rest, they definitely be, they'll be known as the you know,
The head of whatever they are doing.
exactly, like
Yeah.
they're upholding everything, like
Yes.
they have that upper hand.
Yeah, so that takes me to some of the movies that we've been
Yeah,
watching,
yeah, you
and
see,
you see people,
that's-
they say, oh, this is a Pawine Tapa, a chief
Yeah.
Pawine Tapa of the
Yeah.
whole community.
Yeah.
People respect him because he will not say, oh, I took from my great-grandfather, I
Exactly.
took from my great-great-great-grandfather.
Yeah.
And it's as if it's something that is in a bloodline.
Yeah.
But they forget that we are now living the primitive era where we advance in AIs, artificial intelligence, and
Yeah.
all the rest of the things that
Yeah.
are coming up, like the computer system and every other thing that is upcoming, and even more futuristic ones. They just want us to remain in that part where we are. Okay, I get it. That's the disadvantage. They always want us to bear that name, bear that focus, bear that kind of mindset that, oh, our father is a hunter, so we should be a hunter. We should keep on hunting. We should hunt the best. We should
Yeah.
do beyond our dads. And they forget that the society that they found themselves in the 90s is not the same society that we found ourselves in
No.
the 20s. So they are trying to force the 90s kind of attitude in the 20s kind of
Exactly.
century.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fit.
No, it
So
doesn't.
it complicates the whole thing. I
Yeah.
really get it.
Yeah.
So, but if you would lay an advice, or you give it an advice, what would you think, or what do you prefer we start doing? What are we not doing right?
I think the cultures and the traditions, we should not do away like completely with them, because as I said in the beginning, they give us our identity. That is what makes us Africans. The fact that I'll go to Ghana and I'll be like, oh, this tribe, they practice A, B, C, and D. That is what makes them unique. That is what they do. That is
Correct.
what we identify them for. You understand? So then, by the end of the day, we're advancing. Times are not the same.
Yes.
And just like some things were done in the 90s, they're not done today.
Yes, in that,
because
yes.
there's a lot of change, whether mindset, education, technology, everything. Changes are there. So definitely
Yes.
some things that were done in the past will not be done today.
Yes.
So I'd like our parents too to understand that when they are making decisions, we understand that back in the day, the community, those things, the traditions, and
Yeah. They play out a lot.
in the African communities, they usually say like, your child is not your child, it's the community's child. And which is good, because by the end of the day, they are trying, you know. But
grow
as our parents, they're supposed to understand that teach me and your upbringing should be dictating that you are my child, because by the end of the day, I am your child.
Yes.
And that will not change,
Yes.
despite the community, whatever they say.
Yes, it's true.
So the upbringing should be more of the best interest you had for your kids in heart. Bring them up in a way that tomorrow they will not be focused on, they are being scared of doing things that are good for them because they're scared of what other people might say about them.
Yeah, that's true, because I think what makes every home exceptional is the upbringing, like you said.
Yeah.
Now, the way you are being brought up determines the way you will align with the society.
Yeah, that's true.
So I on that note, I strongly believe that we are the ones to change the society.
Yeah.
Our parents are the ones to change the society, and our parents are the ones to change the culture, because they implemented it, right? So whether acceptation in change or adaptation in change, it can bring about the advancement of African society.
Sure.
So I think when we adapt or accept the change, that is the way the community, the advancement in technology, every other thing that is forthcoming, and the futuristic ones that are yet to come, when we advance in training our children in such developed and with a little bit of cultural, because that's what makes us who we are.
Yeah.
But when we advance in those sections, I think we'll make a great change as Africans.
Yeah.
So back on the advancement, now we all know that yes, the society, now we don't write on the slate anymore.
No.
The slate is gone. Now we use exercise books. Even now we are modernizing it and we are using tablets.
Yeah.
Now, if you're getting a child a gadget, right? You know that that in that gadget there are two ways to handle it. Either the right way or the wrong way. Just like giving a child a knife, and you know that it's either he cuts himself or he cuts the leaf. So these things are things that brings us back to the parental guidance. You get it?
Yeah.
Previously on our videos we spoke about it. So now that guidance puts us through the right African way to live, but in an advanced way. So with all these trajectories of new advancement, it's even better our parents guide us through the advanced way of doing it than the society, because the society has their own opinion. It takes us back again to the educational system, the society. These are the things, because now we play along with what our parents has taught us on this particular thing, because we know our parents will never teach us something wrong. You understand? So if our parents is guiding us through the right path, it will be very difficult to convince us at. So we are not trying to say that the Africanity in us should go. No. We are trying to say that our parents should modify it. They should advance it for us so that we will all be advanced in the same manner.
Yeah.
Our Africanity is there, which is our lifestyle, and the technology too is also there.
Yeah.
We are learning, we are regrouping, and we are forming more beautiful Africa.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
For the whole of us and the future generations. Because if we stay primitive where we are, our future generation will also come and meet it the way it is. But if we are advancing through the help of our educational system, on our previous video, through the help of our society, on our previous video, through the help of our parents, you understand that the guidelines will be made straight.
Definitely.
So on that note, we will all live in a beautiful cultural way, not offending anybody, and putting everybody in the right means of following these cultures. And on that same note, we become this beautiful Africa everybody wants to see. You understand? Because I think the reason why some people criticize us and talks bad about Africa is because, I would say, one, they have not been here. They don't know the amount of love we have for each other. Two, I would say because they believe that we are all primitive. So the high time you produce the best tech person from Africa, spacecraftmanship from Africa, AI intelligence from Africa, they will start to recognize. But because we've not started producing these things, people think that we are still primitive. But we are well educated. We've gone to school, we speak good English, we are very, very, very in on it. And we also do well in our languages. So with all this, I think our parents would really, really, really do well. Our teachers will also do well. So I would say, viewers, for those of you who has not been to our previous video, especially the parents, these are the videos you should watch at home with your children, with your loved ones, because Africa of today is really, really advancing. So we should all advance with it.
Yeah.
We should go with it. We shouldn't cancel the things that are supposed to be there. So for me, Yakan, I really want to know your take on that part, because
Yeah.
if I say it alone, people will say, oh, that's your opinion. You understand? So I
Yeah.
want to know what you also think on that note.
Yeah, what I'd like to add on is that for real, the society limits us. Because for one, as an individual, that's how I was brought up, maybe in that particular family, upholding the traditions and everything. And so it's like every time, maybe if I get a job opportunity or something that goes against my traditions, just like what you said, it's not necessarily something negative, but because it goes against my traditions, I am forced to give up that opportunity.
Oh,
So now it's like I'm pleasing the society, but in return,
you are
what
displeasing
am I
yourself.
getting?
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So if I'm not able to stand for myself and be like, no, this is what I want, or if I don't have that backup from my people. So yeah, the society, please, some traditions, we have to do away with them.
Yes.
Let the children go out there, venture, let them, get to involve themselves in different cultures too and other traditions. Not, when you are brought up in one circle, you don't know what
You
is
just keep
outside
on
there.
going around.
You just know one way of living.
Yes.
You don't allow yourself to, you lack diversity.
Yes.
Which is very, very wrong. So,
Yes.
yeah, the society limits us. So, African parents out there who are listening, I think you should give the children that room to go and be able to know other ways of living, that which that they have chosen and feel like, yeah, this works for me, regardless of the traditions. Support them and see how far it goes, because by the end of the
Yes.
day, we are all trying to create something good for ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So viewers out there, this is the first podcast, and you've heard the beautiful voice of Yakang and the host, Peter. We will be expecting your comments. We want to see what you think about all we've said, because I know as an African, everybody has their own ways or means of understanding. And to our parents out there, we want you to play these videos, watch it from home, and really educate your children, because it is rather said than done. So let's really, really regroup this our beautiful Africa and make it work for all. This is the first podcast where your voices are heard.